Konnichiwa, konbanwa, ohayo gozaimasu. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Khan, and welcome to episode 128 of Good or Garbage, the number one place where you can find out what stuff is being sold in the division on a weekly basis. And this week, there's some decent mods. I think there's one really good mod. There's a couple other alright mods, some decent mods. There's some low gear score stuff that has some pretty decent talents. You may want to be looking in the heads up section for that. I do kind of give it a shout out towards the end of the video. Other than that, yeah, just kind of it's an average to so week. Nothing super duper amazing. Actually, wait a minute, there are some pretty decent attachments. Now that I think about it, there's some decent attachments you may want to be on the lookout for. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's Good or Garbage. We're getting so much closer to episode 130 weeks in a row. That's something to be said. Let's get started. All right, now let's move on to the attachments for this week. At East 31st Street this week, we have a CQBSS 8x scope for sale. This one with 13.5% stability, 4% critical hit damage, 2.5% critical hit chance. Now, I know that some people are looking for stability mods. Not everyone is looking for these. I know console players do have a bit of a rougher time with stability than PC players. So if you are looking for something like this and you are on console, you could have this with some pretty decent stability, some pretty decent crit damage, and an almost perfect crit chance. 2.5 is still not bad, but I would have liked a little bit more. But yeah, definitely if you are looking for something like this, you can head over to East 31st Street. Check it out for this week. At the special equipment vendor this week, we have the SR7 Suppressor being sold for 200 Phoenix credits. Now this thing will come with 19% critical hit damage, 5.5% headshot damage, 2.5% stability, and 50% reduced threat. So if you are looking for something to put on a larger caliber weapon, namely an LMG, an AR, or some kind of a sniper rifle, then this could work out for you if you are speccing into critical hit damage. This doesn't have crit chance, which is kind of a bummer, but yeah, still that 19% critical hit damage and the 5.5% headshot damage are still pretty nice, and with the added 50% reduced threat, not bad. It's not the greatest, but still not bad. The only real downside is that it'll cost you 200 Phoenix credits, but you know, a lot of people aren't really worried about that. So if you do need these, then go ahead over to the base of operations special equipment vendor and check it out. At the advanced weaponry vendor this week, we have a Reflex sight. This one coming in with 7% critical hit chance, 4% critical hit damage, 4.5% optimal range. Now, while the critical chance can be, you know, a little bit better, this is still not too bad, especially if it's costing regular credits. And if you need something like this will go great with an AR or an LMG or something like that. So if you are looking for a bit more critical hit chance and a good amount of critical hit damage for, you know, kind of the trade-off, then this would work out well for you, especially if you're running something like Deadly on your AR, or if you have something that, you know, you just want to get more crit chance with, or you have a lot of crit damage on the rest of your build. You should definitely go over to the advanced weaponry vendor in the base of operations and check it out. This week over at Camp Clinton, we have a ridiculous extended magazine for sale. Last week I was talking about the extended mags there. I really wasn't feeling the one from last week, but this one is pretty damn good. This one is coming in with 119.5% magazine size, which I believe was a bump from the one from last week. This one comes with 4% critical hit damage, and it comes with a very nice 5.2% rate of fire increase. So if you are looking for a rate of fire mag for some PvP action, this is definitely where you need to go. The only downside to this is that it'll cost you Phoenix credits, 192 Phoenix credits per mag, which means, you know, if you're going to get two, you're going to be spending a grip, well, you know, close to 400 Phoenix credits. Now, the other thing that is also being sold over here is the 12 times scope. This 12 times scope comes with 18% headshot damage, 4% optimal range, and 4% critical hit damage. It doesn't have chance on it, which is a bit of a bummer, but if you're using this with If you're using this with something like the M700 carbon, which actually has really poor range, this could help you out. That 4% range might help you out a little bit, and then you get 18% headshot damage. This does go up to 18.5, which is, you know, 0.5% could make a very big difference when you start stacking a whole bunch of numbers. But then again, it's not going to really break the bank. So if you do need something like this, at least to tide you over until you find your ultimate god roll on a 12x scope, you can head over to Camp Clinton and check this out. But definitely, if you're looking for an extended mag and you want to do some higher rate of fire, maybe some PvP stuff, this is definitely a very good one to get this week. Highly recommend it. Go get that. This week at DZ5's vendor, there is a Ti-Rant suppressor for sale this week, coming in with 7% critical hit chance, 6% headshot damage, and 4.5% optimal range, along with 49% reduced threat. Now this week there is a Ti-Rant suppressor being sold at a different vendor, that one coming in with 7.5% critical hit chance, slightly more chance, but it comes with 5.5% headshot damage, which is less headshot damage, and then that one actually comes with accuracy and 41% reduced threat. It's in the heads up section. I'm not psychic. I can't guess what each and every person wants or what they would consider is better over the other. So I try to make sure that if I don't put it in video form, I try to put something in the heads up section if it may be something that you're interested in. But again, if you guys are looking for something in particular, leave it in the comment section and let me know. The reason why I picked this one over the one that's in the comment section, even though it has less chance, it does have a little bit more headshot damage. And the main thing is that I chose this one because it has range over accuracy. This will only fit on a smaller caliber muzzle, which means it would only fit on sidearms and SMGs. So those particularly have a weakness of not having that much range, and having a little bit more range could mean that you would still be able to do the maximum amount of damage when the fall off scale kind of kicks in. So having that range may be a much bigger difference than accuracy. So even though you lose a little bit of chance, you lose about 0.5% of chance, you do gain 0.5% of headshot damage, and you do gain that extra range, and you actually have more reduced threat. So that could all, you know, work out for you. If you prefer this one over the other one, then go ahead over to DZ5. If you prefer the other one, take a look in the heads up section. You can find out where that is. And yeah, I would personally go with this one, but that's just me. Let me know in the comment section below if there's anything you're looking for, or if you would choose this one over the other one, or the other one over this one. Let me know what you guys think is the better buy. Now let's go take a look at this week's gear mods. At East 64th Street this week, we have a prototype performance mod with 6% first aid self-heal. If you happen to miss the ones from last week, you still have a chance. This one will cost you DZ credits, but just remember it is at East 64th Street. If you need these, last chance, go pick them up. This week over at the special equipment vendor, we have an extremely nice 267 stamina mod. This one coming in with 3,177 skill power. I'm quite impressed. This is a very nice stamina mod, especially if you're looking for skill power. The only downside again is that these things will cost you 192 Phoenix credits. If Phoenix credits are not that big of an issue for you, then this isn't a big deal. But I know that some people do struggle to keep these, especially if they're trying to get gear sets and they keep buying the gear set caches in the meantime between global events. But you know, this is just one of those things that you can think about. This week would be a good time to get some of these. If you need them, go on over to the base of operations special equipment vendor, check them out. This week over at East 31st Street, we have an electronics mod with a pretty nice 263 electronics. And it also comes with a smidget of skill power, 2,861. I would have liked to see some more skill power from this. I generally try my best to recommend things that are over 3,000 skill power or over 3,000 health. just because they seem like they would be worth the time. But if you are desperate for skill power and electronics both in the same mod, these do kind of come up very rarely for sale. So if you're looking for this, or you're looking to just buy a bunch of these, you can definitely go and do it at East 31st Street. If you do decide to pick this up, let me know in the comment section what kind of mods you guys are looking for. I do read the comments, and I do kind of try to keep track of what you guys are looking for so that I can be sure to shout them out. So if there is anything in particular that you are looking for, leave it in the comments, let me know, and I will try to keep an eye out for you. Now let's take a look at the 280 to 283 gear score items. At the crypt this week, we have a gear score 282 tactical M249 para light machine gun for sale this week. Now, usually I don't recommend these particular light machine guns. I've honestly never really been a huge fan of them. I've never really used them, to be honest. But when I look at this reclaimer build, and when I think about what this has, this may work out pretty well for an electronics build. So if you are running an electronics build, you may want to take a look at this. Now, since it is a gear score 282, the damage to targets out of cover is not too bad. Comes with brutal, which won't really help an electronics build, so you'll probably want to re-roll that. But it does come with self-preserve. Critical hits with this weapon heal you for 3% of the damage dealt, and it also comes with talented in the third slot. Now, the other thing about this is, even if you don't want to use this for an electronics build, maybe you want to use it for a firearms build, this actually could still work out for you. Now, if you did run it with a firearms build, you would get brutal, and that would work out for you. You should be able to get self-preserved, because I'm sure most of you have more than 3,800 stamina, and I'm sure if you're running a firearms build, you're killing the firearms. And then in the third slot, you would have talented. Killing a target with this weapon increases skill power for 15% for 20 seconds, and the effect does not stack, blah 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 blah. But the thing about this is, if you have very low skill power, this might be able to help you get a little bit more out of your heals, a little bit more out of your pulse, or whatever it is that you're running. So if you are thinking about using a very high firearms build, and you are using some kind of LMG, this could work out for you. It may even work out pretty well for a Lone Star build if you're speccing into firearms enough to get brutal, and then yeah, that's pretty much all you would need. And then you could probably take advantage of all of these. So if you are looking for an LMG maybe to test out with a high firearms, but still wanting to get something out of your electronics and not make them completely useless, this could be one of your secondary weapons. Maybe not your primary weapon that you would have to kill enemies with, but it could work out as a secondary to swap between, just so that you can get some more out of your electronics. Now it's time to wrap things up in the 284 plus gear score section. At East 46th Street, we have a gear score 285 M1911 sidearm for sale. This one coming in with Deadly. So if you do have a crit build and you are trying to maximize your crit build all the way around, you want to have this on your sidearm, then you definitely can go ahead and do that. Gear score 285, really nice to have. The thing about the M1911s though is that they do not have a lot of room for mods, so do take that into consideration if you are thinking about using this strictly for damage. The base damage on these is pretty nice though, so if you are looking for that, then you can definitely still roll with this. It's still a very nice decent sidearm that doesn't have too much recoil, so it is pretty easy to manage. So if you're looking for this, yeah, definitely head over to East 46th Street, check it out. Just as a heads up guys, in the base of operations at the advanced weaponry vendor, there is a very low gear score lightweight M4 being sold. I know that not everyone checks the heads up section. I know some of you guys may not even know about the heads up section, but in the description I try my best to put a special heads up section that specializes in talking about weapons or mods, or basically anything that might be of use to some of you guys that may not be the perfect god roll or even very high in terms terms of what they have. But when it comes to weapons, there are still weapons that have really low gear scores but still have pretty decent talents, and I like to put them down there. I don't make a big deal about them in the videos, but I figured I would do that for this one just because I know some people really love their M4s, and the one that's being sold in the advanced weaponry vendor is not that bad. We have it with brutal, responsive, and dominant. You can easily roll off dominant if you don't want it and put something else more to your liking on there, especially since it's in the third slot. You don't have to worry too hard. You can put anything you want there, which would be great. You have the extra damage from headshots for brutal, you have responsive, and then you can swap out dominant, or even if you want to keep dominant and put something else instead of brutal, this could still work out very well for you. The only downside to this is it will cost you quite a bit of division tech to kind of compensate for this low gear score, which is why I put this stuff in the heads up section. It's up to you guys if you want to go and purchase something like that, but definitely as long as you're coming to the Good or Garbage series, if you want to make the most of it, definitely look in the description, check out the heads up section, and if you do decide to pick this up, let me know if you do. All right, guys, that is it for this week's Good or Garbage. I hope you guys found something useful. Thank you guys for all of the support. I am getting so much closer to week 130. Couldn't have done it without all of you guys' support, so thank you very much. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and until the next video.